It was one of those evenings that looked perfect from the outside. Soft jazz playing, chandeliers glittering like falling stars, couples whispering over candlelight. But at the corner table, near the window where the city lights shimmered beyond the glass, sat a young woman who looked like her world was falling apart. Her fingers trembled as she held her phone, refreshing the screen for a message that would never come. She looked out of place, not because of her plain white shirt or the worn-out purse on the chair beside her, but because sadness clung to her like a shadow. And across the room, a man in a tailored blue suit couldn't take his eyes off her. He was Michael Grant, a quiet, self-made millionaire, respected yet lonely, dining alone that night. But what truly caught his attention wasn't her beauty, it was the look in her eyes, the kind of pain he'd once felt when he'd had nothing. He recognized her. She was Anna, his housemaid, the same woman who always greeted him politely every morning, who smiled through her exhaustion, who never once asked for help no matter how hard life seemed. But tonight, her smile was gone. Before the story unfolds, take a deep breath and imagine yourself in Anna's place. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of compassion to change lives, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Because what happens next might just remind you that goodness still exists. Michael watched silently as Anna checked her phone again and again, her lips trembling. Then a waiter approached her table and whispered something. Anna looked around nervously, her cheeks flushing red. I'm waiting for someone," she said softly. The waiter nodded politely, but it was clear he'd noticed too. She'd been sitting there for nearly an hour. A few tables away, a couple noticed her too, a man in an expensive suit and his elegantly dressed date. They exchanged amused glances. "She doesn't belong here," the woman muttered. Under her breath, loud enough for the waiter to hear. Probably came for the free bread. Laughter followed, cruel and sharp. Anna lowered her head. Her trembling fingers reached for her purse, pulling out a single folded bill, $5. That was all she had. She whispered an apology to the waiter and started to stand up, but her legs shook. Her date, the one she'd met online, who promised to meet her there, had humiliated her before even showing up. She didn't know that her boss had seen everything. Michael's chest tightened. He wasn't the kind of man who interfered in other people's lives, but this wasn't just anyone. This was the woman who had mended his clothes by hand, who stayed late to clean his home, who once left a note saying, "Sorry I broke your cup, I'll replace it next month when I get paid." And now, she was standing there in tears, humiliated in front of strangers. He stood up and walked toward her. Anna froze as his shadow fell across the table. She turned, her eyes wide. "Sir, Mr. Grant?" she stammered, completely mortified. I didn't know you were here." He gave her a small, reassuring smile. "I was waiting for you," he said calmly. Her heart nearly stopped. For a second she didn't understand what he meant, but the look in his eyes said everything. The waiters paused, watching. The couple who had mocked her suddenly fell silent. And then, as if the world had reset itself, Michael pulled out the chair across from her and sat down. "I hope I'm not too late," he said. Anna's eyes filled with tears. "You don't have to do this," she whispered, voice breaking. "Maybe not," he said softly, "but I want to." The waiter, now smiling, returned to take their order, and this time the entire restaurant saw her differently. She wasn't the poor maid anymore. She was the woman being treated with quiet dignity by a man everyone recognized, but never really knew. As the evening went on, Michael spoke to her, not as an employer, but as a friend. He asked about her dreams, her struggles, her little brother she was putting through school. She spoke shyly at first, but soon her voice grew steadier. He listened, really listened. It had been years since anyone had done that for her. When dessert came, Michael placed his credit card on the table, but before the waiter could take it, Anna reached into her purse and pulled out the crumpled $5 bill. "Please," she said, voice trembling, "let me pay something. Just once. I want to feel like I deserve to sit here." Michael's eyes softened. He let her place the bill beside the check. "Then I'll keep this," he said, folding the note carefully, as a reminder of someone who never gave up. That night, as Anna walked home through the cold streets, she didn't feel small anymore. She didn't know that Michael had already made a decision that would change her life forever. The next morning, when she arrived for work at his mansion, something was different. The guards nodded respectfully, the housekeeper smiled, and when she entered the dining room, Michael was waiting for her, but instead of his usual business suit, he had a folder in his hands. "I've been thinking," he said gently. "You once told me you wanted to study hospitality, to manage a hotel someday." Anna froze. "That was just a dream," she murmured. "Well," he said, sliding the folder toward her, "dreams are only impossible if you never try." Inside were papers, a full scholarship application to one of the best hotel management institutes in the country. "It's already approved," he added quietly. "All you have to do is sign." Tears rolled down her cheeks. "Why me?" she asked. "Why are you doing this?" Michael smiled faintly. "Because I've seen people turn away from kindness too many times. You've worked harder than anyone I know. You deserve a chance to live, not just survive." Years passed, and Anna did more than just live. She graduated top of her class, started working at a luxury hotel, and eventually opened her own chain of boutique hotels, known for their warmth, elegance, and empathy. At every location, a framed $5 bill hung on the wall with a note beneath it. "The night I was humiliated was the night my life began." And on the day her company was officially listed in the papers, she walked into Michael's office, this time not as his maid, but as his business partner. "You once said you wanted to remind people of kindness," she said softly. "Let's build something that does just that." He looked at her with pride, and for the first time she saw tears in his eyes. The world often measures worth in money, titles, and appearances. But that night, in a restaurant where she had been laughed at for having only $5, Anna learned something greater, that true wealth is in how you rise after being broken, and how compassion can rebuild what cruelty tries to destroy. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like, comment, and share it. Every act of kindness, no matter how small, has the power to change someone's life forever. Special request, comment below. Kindness can change a life if you believe every person deserves a second chance. Because sometimes all it takes is one person who refuses to walk away when the world looks down on you. And that one moment of compassion can rewrite a destiny.